Welcome back to the Coming Out Happy podcast. We're your hosts, Danny and Keely, your LGBTQ plus life coaches. As an LGBTQ plus adult, we know it can be complicated, but here's where we break it all down for you, and you can learn all about becoming your most authentic self so you can create really healthy relationships. Our goal from this podcast is to help you uncover all that makes you who you are and step into that future you. This podcast is your weekly check-in to focus on yourself and start taking actions towards the life and relationships you've always wanted.
If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you love this episode, make sure you leave a 5-star review or rating. We can't wait to hear from you. Now let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Coming Out Happy podcast. We're so glad you're here. This is Keely and Danny.
Hello everyone.
We are so excited that you're here, that you pressed play, and you are just diving in with us today. Before we get into it, we got to talk a little bit about how you can get connected with us throughout the week. That way you have your weekly check-ins. You have some time to just slow down and check in on yourself. Every single Monday, we go live on our Instagram at Coming Out Happy at 3 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. EST. If you miss the live, we'll always post a recording on our Instagram, so make sure you go over and check that out. It's going to be so amazing. It always is. And then every single Friday, we release a new podcast episode. So as you're here right now, maybe you're not listening on a Friday, but new episodes will come out every single week, which is so exciting, ranging for various topics, whatever we decide to talk about. It's all about being LGBTQ plus and how you can be your most authentic self. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. So I'm so glad that you're here. If you're looking for more direct support with us, you can definitely check out our program, Pride Amplified, where we take you through becoming your most authentic self so you can create really healthy relationships. And Danny and I would love to chat more about that with you, or you can click the link, DannyMaxCoaching.com. Can't wait to get into today's episode. Okay, so today we are super excited because, Danny, what are we talking about?
We're talking about Pride since it's Pride Month.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Let's talk about it, whether you've been to Pride, whether you want to go to a Pride, or you plan on going to one in the future, or if you've never been to one, that's totally fine. Let's just talk a little bit from our experience, Dan. What was it like our first time at Pride?
Well, I want to talk about my first time at Pride in general.
Yeah.
It was 2016, and I remember it was in New York City. It was World Pride, I think, or that may have been, no, I think that was a few years ago. The one that I went to, I had no idea what to expect. I went with one of my friends, and I remember that I just came out recently, like right before then, and I really knew that this was a new step, and I knew I wanted to come out publicly. So before I even got there, I took the train with my friend into New York City from Long Island, and we arrived a little bit outside of it, and there was this truck, and I think it said, proud to be me, or something like that. And I was also wearing a t-shirt that was all rainbow, and I remember the feeling of excitement and the feeling of gratefulness, being grateful that I was so glad that I finally got to this position. I mean, for so long I was struggling with who I was, and here I was going to New York to show off everything that made me who I was in that part of my life. So I remember going in front of this truck and taking a picture and posting it to all my social media, and that was kind of how I came out to the rest of the world. And I remember just shooting it off and then putting my phone away, and my family and my close friends knew. But after I posted that, I walked into the parade area. And if you've never been to a Pride, what usually happens is there's a lot of people there. I mean, New York is its own kind of thing because it's so many people. But there's a parade that goes on. There's different events. There's different acts that go on. And everyone is just being themselves. You'll see all kinds of people there celebrating what makes them who they are. And it is such a special event. And I just remember being genuinely so happy that I was able to go to New York Pride as my first Pride. I don't even feel like there are words to describe it. It was just, I felt so at peace. And I think that's like something that everyone should experience, peace in themselves. I felt like I was finally home for the first time, like being in other places. I went to school in North Carolina. I had lived in another place in New York that just, it didn't feel the same way that New York City felt. It felt so accepting and loving, and being able to celebrate on such a special day at the same time that I was coming out, I mean, that was unbeatable. And I remember just being there, and I actually got to hop into the parade. So I was walking through the streets of New York City. That was like initially why I was going, because I was volunteering in one of the marches. So I forgot exactly what it was for. I think it was parents against some sort of violence. But it was just so beautiful. And I was repping all the rainbow in the world, and it was such a beautiful time.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It sounds so beautiful, and just love that you have that experience that you cherish so close to your heart. And I think that, First Pride is always a special one. So I love that you got to share your story here today with everyone that's listening, and I hope they can experience it as well. But what I want to ask you a little bit more about your experience. Were you nervous before? Did you plan on going? Like, what was that like before you actually went?
So I was really nervous, but I also knew that I really wanted to experience something like this. I knew that I was going partially because my friend had invited me to walk in the parade, which it's for different causes. There are like a bunch of different people who are sponsoring different groups that are promoting different things, all positive, by the way, just helping out. And I knew I had to be there. There was something in me that was just like, this is the time that you've been waiting for your whole life after struggling for so long. So that was really the feeling. Of course I was nervous. My whole coming out process was long, and it was confusing and painful at some points, but there was always a part of me that was so excited to experience that relief for the first time, and to also see with other people that it was so okay and more than okay to be yourself. The one thing I got out of it, if anything besides my own inner peace, was knowing that I wasn't alone. Seeing how many other people are standing in who they are, and they have a place to finally show that.
Yeah. No, that's so beautiful. I love that you just shared that. And I think too, going and seeing other people being themselves is a really beautiful thing. It just makes you happy. It brings you joy to see other people just really being able to express themselves fully. I love that. But I also think there was another side of it. If you didn't grow up around Pride, or you're not used to that at all, which I kind of experienced, because Danny's background a little bit more accepting in her family and understanding who she was. But with my experience growing up in religion, I think there's this other side that you're really afraid of Pride. Maybe you've heard really bad things about it. You've heard like that some people are, bad things could happen. Whatever it is that you've heard about Pride, maybe it has had a different image in your mind. And so that was kind of what my image was because of my upbringing and the environment that I grew up in. And when I went for the first time, I was just overwhelmed. I wanted to enjoy it and soak it all up as much as I could. My first Pride was New York City with Danny for the first time, and it was the World Pride, so it was huge. I remember even flying there. Everybody was flying in for that Pride. I mean, almost everybody on the plane was flying to New York to go to that, and I was thinking in my head, wow, this must be really big. This must be a big Pride. And I was so nervous because I was just coming out, was trying to navigate what that was looking like, and I never really even wore rainbow. So seeing everybody with rainbow and expressing themselves and all these colors, and it was so beautiful, but I felt so overwhelmed. And I think that's valid too, and I want to share my experience because I don't know, it's not always as you may seem.
Yeah, everyone's experience is different too, and I want to know a little bit more about what it was like for you to feel overwhelmed and really
Yeah.
dive into what it was like for you.
Yeah, I think it was so many thoughts going through my head of just trying to justify why I was there. Does that make sense? Justifying why I was there? Like,
I want to know. Can you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, I was going over and over in my head, just, is this right? I kept asking myself, is this right? Because I had thought it was so wrong for so long to be gay. And it's vulnerable to share that, right? To share that part of me that had to walk through that. But that was probably the moment where I started to break free from some of that. The moment where I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and I went to that Pride and I saw everyone just trying to be them. And I realized I was trying to do the same thing. And at the end of the day, it was just love. Because I think a lot of that internalized homophobia that maybe some of you have also grown up with can sit so deep inside of us. But it's experiences like that, although it was overwhelming at first, after I got to decompress and walk away from it, I was like, that was awesome. I know I remember talking to you about that.
We had such a great time, though.
Oh my gosh.
We stayed in a hotel, and this was like a bunch of years ago, but it was just so fun.
Yeah, and I remember just, at first I was overwhelmed, but after, in the middle of it and towards the end, I started to get more comfortable, and I had my rainbow shirt for the first time. I had a rainbow bracelet, a rainbow shirt, and I think that you got me a little whistle. She got me a whistle.
It was just a bunch of Pride gifts that I had found. I think it was on probably Amazon, but I know that you have to get all dressed up, and obviously you don't have to, but what I like to do is just go decked out in all rainbow. So I got Keely some stuff too.
Yeah, I remember you bought me, because right before we went, it was my birthday, and you bought me a Pride shirt, and you told me, like, you can wear this. And it was the first Pride shirt I had ever gotten. And I think that's so interesting to talk about because it's such a special thing, but to other people it'd be like, oh, it's just a rainbow shirt. But to me, I was like, my first Pride rainbow shirt, that's so exciting. So yeah, that was my experience, but I loved it, and ever since I only got to go a couple times, but I was just so grateful to be there and to see people expressing themselves, and I know that there can be two sides to it. I love that you had such an amazing experience too, and I appreciate your perspective. I think the most beautiful thing about this podcast is that Danny and I are two different people. A lot of people may look at our stuff and go, oh, it's just Danny and Keely, like Coming Out Happy, it's one. But Danny has a completely different perspective on her life and how she's grown up and how she experiences life every single day, and then my experience is completely different as well. So you're always going to get two sides of what was Pride for you, what did it look like for Danny, what did it look like for Keely, and maybe you're able to pick parts and pieces and resonate with either one of us. But I think Pride is such a beautiful time, and I'm so glad that it's a thing. I'm so thankful for all the people in the beginning that, started Pride and
that fought for us to be where we are today. A lot of people aren't able to celebrate, and it's a time to all come together and really express gratitude for the ones who have been through it. I mean, obviously, I don't know the full history of all of it, but we've been fighting for so long just to feel equal, and celebrating at Pride is just, it's so incredible to be able to do that.
And last year, learning more about, how it all started, and the Stonewall, and the Black, queer, trans people that were going and fighting for us to have this. And I think that's so important to recognize too when we're talking about Pride and knowing the history. And I think even this year, Danny and I are going to go in and learn more about, how it all started, who were the important people, and what did that look like, because I think it's important for us to know. And growing up, I never had a chance to really explore that, but now that I can and I'm free to do so, I can't wait to learn so much more, and I'm just so appreciative for Pride and all of the people that helped us have Pride. I think it's important to share these stories and to just share, how beautiful it is to come together. And I can't wait until things start to open up more and we can come together. I'm not sure what Pride will look like this year in many places, but I hope that there's some kind of gathering, or maybe Danny and I will have something fun planned for you all. We'll see if we have it all put together by the time this is released. So definitely check our Instagram for that, at Coming Out Happy. I wish we would plan that far ahead. But yes, definitely just so excited to be chatting about this today. And I'd love to hear your Pride stories.
I want to know if you've ever been to a Pride festival and how it was for you, or if you're looking forward to going to one in the future, where you're looking to go. go.
Yeah, what you're looking forward to. I think it's important to share these stories, and definitely stay tuned throughout the month of Pride on our Instagram. We'll be posting a lot and really just sharing more stories over there. So I can't wait to hear from you all. Thank you so much for tuning in today to our podcast, and I'm so excited for everything to come. We'll see you next Friday. Again, if you want to catch us on Instagram at Coming Out Happy, you can come to our Monday lives, and you can definitely listen to the podcast every single Friday. We can't wait to see you all soon. Bye, everyone.